Well, hello, all you high thinkers and folks that I hope are thinking in general. Uh, Said hi here again, and I apologize for the abrupt cutoff on the other video. I got interrupted and wasn't able to finish that one, so I thought I'll just continue on now. But, anyways, I hated that I had to do that. Plus, I lost my train of thought flowing through it. But basically, I was talking about trying to get society or a ruler, in this case Constantine, which I don't know if he was a Caesar. I said that earlier. He was definitely emperor, Constantine the Great, um, the first Christian emperor. And some of the things that he did, because again, going back to the ARC triangle, trying to get the reality to match is not easy when people are already steeped in other traditions. So a few of the things that Constantine did was um, well, first of all, he decriminalized Christianity and stopped the Christian persecution. So, I mean, that's a good thing because that's an awful thing to be doing to somebody just because of what they believe. So, the other thing, he moved the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday because at the time there was the pagan ritual of the sun god, and that was on Sunday. And granted, later on in the Dark Ages and the Inquisition, they would just kill people that didn't believe the way they did. But instead, he just changed this over so that there would be a mixture of the celebration and would be assimilated, basically, it seemed like to me. Um, he also, this goes along with Plato, originator of, I'm not going to say this right, um, Constantinism. Uh, Anyways, so it's basically the uniting of the church and the state, which goes back to what Plato was talking about with your ruler being, right next to God. That sets that all up. And so also the Christmas, he moved that to December 25th and 336 uh, CE, AD for covering both bases there, to kind of assimilate the Sol Invictus, a pagan celebration. So anyway, those are a few of the things he did, and that actually worked really well. It sounds like, or what I've been reading about it some for a long time, and I'm not sure where it totally went downhill, but suddenly it was like, okay, we're not just going to be tolerant of you having different ideas and kind of like working around it. It turned into the Inquisition to where you started killing people if they didn't believe the way that you did. And I think I kind of covered that in the other video, so we won't go into that. But one thing I was wanting to talk a little more about was uh, translating the Bible. I don't remember the guy's name, and I also threw in the Gutenberg press in there. That's kind of a separate issue, but translating the Bible to a language that the common people could read, the fear was, and rightfully so, that if everybody could read it and interpret it, they're going to get different ideas. So you had to keep this basically secret, or at least in your control. It's not really secret, but they're telling you, the church and the priests are telling you what to think and what the um, religion really is. So when everybody had access to it, all of these other religions started up. And that really went nuts with the Gutenberg press and all that. And so that's when a lot of the religious wars and the whole Protestant Catholic thing, seems like, if I'm getting all this right, started going. And I think it's always been interesting to me the fact that both the Catholic here with the Pope and all the things we've just been talking about are like God's right hand man. They're the chosen ones, basically. But yet the Protestants came along and say, like in England, won't go way into detail on that, but just, with Henry VIII and uh, Queen Mary, who was called, Bloody Mary because of all the people she killed for being Protestants. And then, not going through all of it again, but then Queen Elizabeth comes in and she's actually Protestant. So, so all of a sudden they're doing all that. And then the church, the Catholic Church, was saying, oh, when England set up the Church of England, it's like, oh, we can't have that because they're going to keep all the donations and all that. They're not keep sending us any money. and also that's heresy and blah, 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 blah. And so that's when they built this huge fleet of ships to go up and straighten the situation out, and ended up, it was a combination of losing and storms, it sounds like. But if God were truly on their side, if Catholics were truly correct with what God wanted, that wouldn't have happened. They would have won. So, it's just this constant conundrum of this, saying it's God and there's nothing to back up the claims. And so it's just taking that back into, once the Bible was translated and the Gutenberg press came around so it could be widely distributed, you got all these different religions. But the persecution and all this other stuff of different religions was still happening. That was also about the time of the discovery of America, right? So there seems to be a lot of confusion on that these days, or misinformation, because that's a propaganda technique that's just been widely used to try and say how America was a Christian nation. Well, first of all, that's not a true statement. A tremendous amount of Christians were here, but what's your definition of Christian? I mean, I looked that up also here. Let me see if it's on this other page. But I mean, I just looked at the first 20 different kinds of religions that were over here, from like, from the Anglican Church. What do they call this? The Congregational, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Baptist. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And also the number of Bibles. There's also these different interpretations of the Bible. So that also begs the question. They say the Bible is infallible, especially, I guess all of them basically. Well, okay, not all of them, but a lot would say that the Bible's infallible. Well, which one? The King James Version, the New World Version? I could go on and on about that too. So it can't be infallible if there's more than one of them and they all say that they're the correct Bible. It's just that kind of stuff. I just don't understand it. Anyway. So that being said, about America, yeah, there were a lot of different kind of Christian beliefs, and they were quite different. And then there was the Enlightenment that was going on at the time, and so like Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, and just a whole list of them, Thomas Paine, were deists. And I guess I've always kind of fell into that category. I feel like there's a reason for all this, or I hope that there is. It got created somehow, don't know how. And, we no one can say for sure at the moment. There's just no one that knows. There is no one that knows how to get to heaven, or if there isn't even is a heaven. So the deists, though, just were basically, we're here, it happens, and hope for the best, live a good life. Excuse me, I kind of like the idea of myself. My high thoughts here are getting off on a tangent. But what if you did believe in reincarnation and you thought that the right thing to do, if you live a good and moral life, that you'll come back at a better state, which I guess is kind of like Buddhism, does some weird things like that. But if you're a really horrible person, you're going to end up like some, middle of a desert with no food, and being born into that situation, or something really horrible. So that you want to live a good life, because you got to deal with it when you come back. And that would be the same with the environment. It's like, instead of saying, oh, well, the kids are going to have it really rough, it's like, hey, when I come back around, I'm going to have it really rough, because what I'm doing right now, it's, really messed up. Anyways, I've gotten a little off on that, but so back to the uh, different religions and all of that. It's just uh, so I got off track there again for a minute, because I guess the scary thing about this to me is what's happening today in our society. That you have a group of people, and I know I grew up in that area, the evangelical Christians, but there's still different versions of those. It's not all the same one. But they keep clamoring for, prayer in school and all these other things. Well, whose prayer is it going to be? I mean, are we going to do Catholic prayers? We're going to take turns with different religious groups. You know, that would be the only fair way to do it. But the problem is the way it's going right now in the Republican Party, it looks like what they're wanting to do is that hardcore evangelical, everybody's going to live the way we do, or you're just going to have hell on earth. And I really don't think any of us want that. I mean, even if they could just identify which version of Christianity they thought ought to be implemented at a government level, just to entertain the idea of just what are you talking about when you say you want this to be a religious government, a country. You want to pick the religion. And that just goes against everything that America stood for, stands for now, and stood for back when there were all those crazy religions when it was just being settled. So, anyway, I guess I'm going to stop right there and kind of recap this video and see how much is useful. Hopefully, we'll see. At least the dogs came up. Even Pepper made it up the steps. So that's a big deal for him. Anyway, that's all my high thoughts for right now. I guess I better go think about something else in a high thoughts kind of way. So until again we meet, keep thinking those high thoughts, and we'll catch you next time.